Lions fans, this is the podcast you've been waiting for. The show where the Kool-Aid runs blue, faces turn red, and rose-colored glasses never go out of style. This is the Detroit Lions Podcast. Your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection. And now, two guys who sip a beer faster than Aaron Rodgers chugs one. Chris and the Riz.
Hey, howdy-ho, Lions fans. Welcome to the Detroit Lions Podcast Game Preview. This is episode 364. I am your dashing host, Chris, and with me is the effervescent, glorious, gorgeous, the king of the airwaves of Detroit, Tony T.O. Ortiz. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing all right. I don't know about the king of the airwaves, but thank you very much for the compliment.
It's like King of the Road. I'm going to write a song, King of the Airwaves, and I'll sing it to you next week, I promise.
Thank you. I might even sing it if you send it to me. How's that?
That sounds awesome. Let's see. We got a lot to talk about. We don't want to talk about last week too much, do we, Tio?
No.
We just kind of want to fire and forget. All right. We're going to do
pretty much.
Lions-Vikings preview. Talk a little bit about St. Jude, Christmas for the kids. We got that going on as well. Got a fun video to show for you. We got an injury report, some game predictions, and a whole lot more. We got a great show, as always, lined up. Tio, are you ready to go, my man?
To quote Riz, let's do it.
Let's kick this off and break it down.
All right.
That's my tribute to Riz, by the way. I miss him. So
we were just talking about you on the last show. He misses you desperately as well. We talked about especially with the news of Miller's closing. We talked about we should get the three of us together here this fall one time, maybe get out there and do a final burger salute before Dan buys it.
That thing, those burgers, if you've never been to Miller's, those burgers are just awesome.
Yeah. Dan, don't you think Dan should buy it? I mean, he wouldn't have to change the name.
Oh,
and then
Dan Miller's? Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be awesome if Dan Miller bought Miller's Bar.
Just putting that out for you, Dan.
In fact, if he buys it, we should get Burgers for Life for bringing him the idea of buying Miller's Bars.
Yeah, we spent $4 million of your dollars, Dan. Come on.
There you go. Drop in the bucket for Dan.
Yeah. Saddled you with a restaurant and business. Yeah, what could go wrong here? All right. Let's get into the Lions meta. Lions at the Vikings this week at U-Spank Stadium. I think that's what it's called. I
think so too. Yeah,
just kind of sounded out. U-Spank Stadium. All right. The teams have met 119 times. This is a tough one. It's not nearly as many times as the Bears and the Packers. No. But the Vikings lead the series 78-39 and 2 ties. That's like double.
Yeah, it is. And you know why the Vikings were able to lead the series like they did? Because Chris, growing up in the 70s here in Detroit, every time the Vikings and Lions would get together, it's like just put an L right next to it because the Lions never beat the Vikings. They were 4-18, if I'm not mistaken, in that 10-year stretch from 1970 to 1980. And I hated the Vikings for that because the Vikings were so good. Fran Tarkington and Chuck Foreman. Let me see. Mick Tinglehoff was the center, if I'm not mistaken. You had guys like Carl Eller and Alan Page. They just ran roughshod over the Lions. And it's like every time the Lions would be on a roll, they'd win a couple of games in a row. Oh, it's Minnesota. Oh, crap. It's not going to be good. And they get blown out. And look, I know they call Green Bay the frozen tundra, Lambeau Field. The real frozen tundra, Chris, was Metropolitan Stadium because that place, every time the Lions would play a game there in December and they'd show it on television, it looked like that field was rock hard.
Mm-hmm. I know we'll talk about the frozen tundra of the Metrodome as well in a little bit. I won't let you.
Never going to live that one down.
Sorry, buddy. Yeah, but you don't even have to go back to the 70s. They ate a lot of Lions tail back then, but the Lions have lost the last 7. And if you want to try to count 10 Lions wins the last 10, you go all the way back to 2007. And to get to 20, you have to go to 1991. That's 30 crazy. Years to get 20 wins, and that's 30 years. That's 60 games. So it's at 33%. That's terrible. Last tie was in 1967 on November 12th. First time they played was 1961. The Lions won 37-10. We can put that in our pipe and smoke it at least. The total points scored by the Vikings in the series, 2,616. The Lions have 2,209 with an average gap of 3.4 points per game. So there have been some blowouts, but the series has, even though they've won, it feels like it's closer when you put it like that, right?
It does feel like it's closer lately, but again, I go back to growing up as a kid. The Vikings meant loss. It's just that simple. You saw that purple. It's like, well, the Lions have lost.
Oh God, I hate that. Yeah, it's funny because I despise the Packers, right? And it's probably just because of their success and that smug look on Aaron Rodgers' face all the time. I don't know why. It just always just grinds my gears. The Vikings never hurt me in my fandom, right? I just don't know why I don't dislike them. Except there's one guy I know that was the most obnoxious fan of any team I've ever met. And he is forever burned in my brain doing his stupid Vikings dance and chant and like this whole dumb over the top super fan thing. And I was just like, no, I don't like the Vikings. I don't like him. I don't like the Vikings. That's it. It just sealed it for me. It's weird how one experience can do something like that.
I feel better about the Vikings now, having done games where I've got to meet Paul Allen, who's the play-by-play guy, and Greg Coleman, who's their sideline reporter. I feel a lot better about the Vikings because those two guys are hilarious. Greg Coleman, in fact, is a friend, and I just love dealing with those guys. But they made me feel better about the Vikings as opposed to the way I felt growing up, which is, God, I hate those horns.
Yeah, and you think about it. You mentioned Tingelhoff. It's sounds like it's something from Lover's Lane that they used on us back in the 70s. We should get them as a sponsor, actually. All right, let's go really quick. Talk about some stories. My favorite story is about the wind report in the Metrodome, but I won't go there just yet. I'll let you do that, Tony. I want to tell a story. I relayed this a little bit recently, but I have a little bit more detail on it. The worst game I ever went to was not at the Metrodome. It was Lions versus Vikings. It was at the Silverdome.
Okay.
And it was on October 6th, 1991. I went and I got the details of this game because I wanted to make sure I relayed it right. Me and my friends went, me and three other buddies, a bunch of, dumb guys, really dumb guy age doing dumb guy things. And so we go to the Lions game, and 1991, it's a crisp fall day in October. It's beautiful, right? It's like right now, right? It's 2 days difference in the year. So it's just kind of like it is today out there. Okay. And so we go to the game, we get settled in, and 7 points for the Vikings the first quarter. Boom, right off the top. It's like, gosh. Another Rich Gannon touchdown second quarter. So it's 14-0, right? Lions, okay, we get a field goal. Eddie Murray, he's always, the GOAT. He's clutch. That's good.
Yep.
Third quarter, they get another 3. Fourth quarter, they get another 3. At this point, it's 20-3 Vikings. There's 5 minutes left of the game, maybe, right? There's no way the Lions are coming back. There's no way. So me and my buddies get up, and we're like, we're just going to beat the traffic.
I think I see where this is going. Go ahead.
So we start walking. Tick, 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 tick. We get to just by the exit, and we hear the crowd go nuts, right? The Lions scored a touchdown. It's like, oh, wow, 20-7, but it's like 4 minutes left or 3.5, something like that. We're like, there's no way. There's just no way. It's not going to happen. Okay. So we go out the door, we go walking, and we get into the parking lot, and all of a sudden we hear the dome erupt again. And you know how the dome was. You could hear it outside, just loud.
Oh, God, yes, it was great.
But there was no cell phones then, right? There's nothing. We didn't. So we're just like, what's going on, right? So we kind of, you can't re-enter, no re-entry, right? So
correct.
We start skipping our way to the car, right? Just as we get to the car, the crowd, the dome erupt again. We're like, what in the heck is going on? The first eruption we heard was an interception or a fumble recovery. The second one, just as we got to the car, we pop it on, and it was the second touchdown that they scored in the third quarter. So now it's 20-14, right? Or 20-17. And it's like, what in the world? So we got Mark Champion on the radio, right? And we're listening
to Jim Brandstatter at that time.
Yeah, we're listening to the game.
Some guy named Tony Ortiz was doing the producing at that time too.
We're listening, and they scored, and they won the game. Another touchdown, 24-20 in the end. It was literally heartbreaking. The most heartbreaking win the Lions have ever had for me. I got home.
And
go ahead.
What did you learn from this, Chris? What did you learn?
I got home, and it was my wife that taught me. I was just like still in shock. She said, she wasn't even my wife then. She's the girl I was dating. You stupid idiot. You never leave a game early.
The wife is smart.
And she became my wife thanks to her.
There you
advice.
go.
Yep. So, huge comeback. It was at the time the largest comeback in the NFL history at that time, and I missed it. I had tickets. I was there, and I still missed all the best part of the game. So that's my favorite, unfavorite Lions Viking story. How about you? Besides, do you want to tell the win story?
Yeah, I'll tell the win story. And again, to this day, when I see Dan Miller or Jim Brandstatter or anybody with the crew, Al Rosenberg, the producer, Mike Brett, the statistician, Joe Abramson, the spotter, they always bring this up. It was a cold day in the Metrodome. It's cold in Minneapolis. It had to be November. And you could tell when they opened up the doors to, when people were coming in, or they opened up the big door, because this gust of wind would come in and it just got colder inside the dome. And so I made the mention at the start of the broadcast, because they usually went down to me at the start of the broadcast, for anything on the field or anything like that. I said, look, and there's a wind chill right now here in the Metrodome. Well, what did I say that for? Because at that point, I guess Dan and Jim looked at each other and said, we're indoors in a building and he's talking about a wind chill. This was the subject for the entire game. They would call a few plays. I thought, okay, after an hour, this is going to die down. No, not really, because I kept hearing about it during the broadcast, and they throw it down to me for a hit on the sidelines, and Jim, hey, Tony, how's the wind down there? And it's like, okay, great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. So this has never died. And to this day, whenever I see Dan or Jim or anybody connected with the Lions crew, I hear the exact same thing. Hey, how's the wind at the Metro? Believe me, I cheered when they tore down the Metrodome. When that thing imploded, I was right there. Hey, good job, guys. I hated that building with a passion.
Oh, man. All right. How about some other memories? I know you spent so much time on the sidelines down there with the before it became U.S. Bank or U.S. Bank Stadium. Sorry, I almost said it wrong.
2008, the year of the winless Lions.
Ooh.
That in Minneapolis, I remember that was the one game that the Lions came the closest to winning.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, everybody's going to remember that that's the game where Dan Orlovsky stepped out of the end zone. That was the safety game. I got it. I understand. But with about 2 minutes to go in that game, there was a horrible, and I mean horrible, pass interference call against Lee Bodden that put the Vikings in position ultimately to kick the game-winning field goal, and they ended up winning 12-10. That's what I remember about that game. Not Orlovsky stepping out of the end zone, but that horrible pass interference call by Lee Bodden that allowed the Vikings to move into scoring range. And without that call, if that call isn't made, and to this day I maintain that was a bad call, that call doesn't get made, the Lions win that game 10-9, and we're not talking about the 2008 season where they go 0-16.
Well, and just really quick on Dan Orlovsky, did you know he got his broadcasting start on this podcast?
No.
He started, he actually co-hosted. It was over the winter after between Christmas and New Year, and Case couldn't do a show, and we were talking to Dan. He was a guest on. I was like, hey, Dan, you want to co-host a show? He's like, sure. And it was the first media he did, and he co-hosted the podcast. I don't have it here. He screamed Guam at the top of his lungs when he used to do a Guam thing. I mean, he did the no pants on thing. He was fully on board for the whole show. He was absolutely fabulous. And now look at him. He's forgotten all about us. I have to tell
you know what? It's funny. Dan Orlovsky and Nate Burleson, two guys that I would talk to in the locker room, and you just had a feeling those guys, if they got the chance to do any kind of broadcasting, would be outstanding. And the fact that Orlovsky's as successful as he is, the fact that Nate Burleson's as successful as he is, I think it speaks volumes about the character of those guys. And believe me, I watch them as often as I can, and I root for them every step of the way. So those are two guys, and those are two guys who, Chris, I loved covering when they were with the Lions. Yeah.
Good cats. All right, well, moving on. We'll get towards the game and talk about the preview here. But first, we want to talk about St. Jude. St. Jude, we just kicked it off the first of the month. We've got some stuff going on, and I want to show you a video. YouTube really hosed us on our Wednesday show, and they actually, our video froze at 14 minutes. and we went like an hour and 40 minutes. Everything else in the video is gone. The audio is good. You can download the audio podcast, but we had video. We had all kinds of different stuff going on and some things that we played, and everybody missed it because it was literally a failure on YouTube. And if you've ever tried to contact Google technical support, good luck. So supposedly by Saturday, they're supposed to have it fixed. But I showed a video. Okay. I want to show it to you because we started Jamie's Pies. We talked about it. If you go to stjude.org/DLP, you can donate. And if you use the hashtag Jamie's Pies, for every $100 we raise in October, Jamie is going to take a pie in the face. And he was supposed to get some things ready, and he was talking about it, and he was just giving us an update. So let me find Jamie's Pies here, and we will get him. And here, check this out.
Hey guys, it's Jamie from the Slack, Double J. I am just doing a check-in right now to kind of give you a heads up where we're at with the pies. Right now, we're just going to set it up where we do a challenge. So I'm going to challenge Case to do a donation and a pie, and I'm going to choose Flounder for a pie and a donation. So, just, oh gosh, what was that? Okay. That was so not expected. Somebody give me a towel. That's 3.
So Jamie's got 11 more to do.
That was his son, I'm going to assume, who hit him with the pie, correct?
Yeah, all 3 of his kids came out. They were kind of trying to prep it. He was doing an update, and they came at him.
They had some aggression built up. It was like, okay, we're going to get Dad back. We're going to get him good. That was awesome. Jamie, congratulations.
Great job, Jamie. So he's in Montana. He's got 11 more to do. He's got nieces, nephews, neighbors. I don't know what kind of guy Jamie is. Maybe he's not that great, but they're lining up to nail him with pies. So help us out, stjude.org/DLP. Your name shows up in lights on the screen. If you say it, your name will show up on the scroll underneath the little marker at the top, and we're trying to get to 25 grand this year. We got 20 grand last year. Helping sick kids for Christmas. stjude.org/DLP. Thank you all. And just really quick on the pie thing, much like the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, challenge some folks, donate some money, challenge them, do your pie, be creative, right? The Lions give you a number of ways that you could probably interweave into the story of how you get your pie, but challenge others, get folks posted on social media. We'll put it on the show. We'll retweet on social media. We'll make sure it gets visibility, but we want to get as many people involved as we can. You can do it. You can donate as little as $1 and just have the fun with it, right? It's pretty fun, pretty funny, as you saw with Jamie, and a great way to help a great cause. All right.
Hey, Chris, you remember the movie Airplane?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Jamie is the hysterical woman, and you look back and there's this long line of people trying to. It's awesome. It's awesome.
The nun with the
Jamie,
nightstick, right?
Yes, nunchucks and baseball bat. Yeah. Jamie, you have my respect for doing this. Believe me, awesome. But know that people are lined up to throw a pie in your face, and that is incredible.
So we had a brainstorming meeting on things that Riz and I will do. I'll just tell everybody the beans are going to be back. The bean boozled, the terrible, like flavored, horrible beans. We'll have those to help raise money. It did get put out into the ether that Riz, if we hit 25 grand, Riz should don a tutu on stream. He didn't say no. Now, he didn't. It wasn't a hard no. Just think about it, folks. There might be a way to kind of bully him into this.
How badly do you want to raise $25,000? Riz in a tutu. We've got to do it. People, we got to do this. We've got to put Riz in a tutu. Just so he can't live it down. So we got to put Riz in a tutu.
Step 1, convince him. Let's bully him into agreeing, and then it's our job to get to 25, get Riz in a tutu, and have a lot of fun. All right, moving on. The Diamond CBD injury report, cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Head on over there. They've got some new. It's exactly like Delta 8, but it's not covered by the Delta 8 laws. I keep saying it's like the pirates and the anti-pirates and the making the video games and the software. It's this back and forth constantly going. They legislate Delta 8 is now illegal. Well, they got something that works just like it, but it's legal in all 50 states. Head on over. It is ready for you, cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. And they have the regular CBD, pain, anxiety, and insomnia. Help with all those things. And if you want the buzz kind, you can get that there too. As I said, head on over to cbd.detroitlionspodcast.com. Okay, we really need the CBD for this crew. The injuries are off the charts. I want to give you something. I didn't tell you this. I told you I had something that's going to shock you before the show, but I didn't tell you what it was. We started exploring this on Wednesday's show before YouTube froze it on us, and it just stunned me. And the number is a little less than what we thought. We thought it was 70%, but more of our salary cap is sitting with people not playing than playing. It's about 60%. So the Detroit Lions right now are trying to basically field a team with 40% of the allotted salary. How do you beat another NFL team with your weapons, your ability to get weapons tied up so poorly? $50 million of that is gone because of the previous regime, dead cap, that kind of stuff. But a ton of it is wrapped up in injuries, and that's just so painful. Let's get into it. Lions side, who do we have out for us this week?
Well, the big name is Frank Ragnow. He's not going to play. He's not going to play for a couple of weeks because of turf toe. So that now means 3 of the Lions' starting 5 offensive linemen will not play in the or could miss this game. Decker's out, obviously, but he's getting closer to returning. We talked about Ragnow being out, and now Penei Sewell is questionable. And if you believe some reports, he's doubtful to play. So there's a chance that the Lions could face a team like the Minnesota Vikings who love to get after the passer.
Now, this wouldn't be a big problem, though, because they don't really have a defensive line to be worried about, a front 7 to be worried about in Minnesota, right?
It's a little bit of a worry, yes. Ask Baker Mayfield if that's the worry, because they harassed the hell out of Baker Mayfield last week. And again, listen, I've seen the Vikings get after Lions quarterbacks. There was one game Matthew Stafford looked like John Wayne at the end of every Western movie, where he's basically walking easy and gently because the Vikings just harassed him and sacked him all day. And I think if you're the Lions, the injuries along the offensive line are a concern. And if you're the Vikings, and we'll talk about this a little bit more when we get into the matchups, this is the one area where you are strongest on defense is your defensive line. And the fact that they can get after the passer, they can get after Jared Goff, maybe slow down your running game. I think that's a critical element in this game. And I think if you're the Vikings, you like seeing this injury report and you like seeing the fact that the Lions might be without 3 of their starting offensive linemen on Sunday.
And, we just talked about how many guys are out hurt. And I'm not putting this out there. I don't want to put the juju on anybody, but Jared Goff is really exposed right now.
Yeah, he is.
And that's that's the majority chunk of what's left of the players on the field with salary cap. I just hope and pray. This is not ideal. This is the worst case scenario. What we had was a top 5 defensive line when everyone's healthy, maybe even top 3. And that was what we were relying on to keep Jared Goff clean, to be able to be good Jared Goff that took a team to the Super Bowl. That has a lot of skill and ability. He gets a little, he gets the happy feet. He gets nervous when the rush closes in on him. This is a terrifying time. I mean, with 3 guys down against a defensive line as lethal as Minnesota's, this is probably a worst case scenario. I just hope it's only John Wayne walking gingerly on the field at the end of the day.
And listen, if there's a concern about quarterbacks, just look at the butcher's bill the last week in the NFL. The number of quarterbacks that have gone down, topped off by a guy in Russell Wilson, who had 147 consecutive starts. And now the Seahawks could be looking at not having Wilson for about a month to 2 months because of a busted tendon in his throwing finger, or a busted tendon in the middle finger on his throwing hand. So, yeah, quarterbacks are fragile. And this is not the time to see 3/5 of your starting offensive line possibly not playing. So if there's any good news, Chris, about this, it's the fact that it looks like TJ Hawkinson is going to play, and it looks like DeAndre Swift is going to play. So that gives him at least a couple of weapons as blitz beaters. But again, it's not the ideal situation to go into Minnesota with a team that desperately needs a victory to save their head coach's job, and you're facing them without 3/5 of your offensive line. That's not a good thing.
It feels like what we kind of faced in Chicago, although a worst case scenario, right? I mean, a worse case than the Chicago game, but they were bouncing off of a terrible game. You knew the coach was on his back foot. He was in trouble.
Yep.
And they came out and they played hard against a weak and broken Lions team and broke them and made them even weaker. That very well could be the story again this week. I'm extremely nervous about that matchup. Okay.
Yeah, it's crazy, Chris, because it's the exact same scenario like you said against Chicago. Head coach on the hot seat, check. Team being criticized for the way they've played the first few weeks of the season, check. And a team that looks at the Lions and says, okay, if we can win this game, we can get back on track, check.
And if we lose this game, we're probably out on our ear.
Correct, because if you look at the NFC West and you look at the NFC South, the wild card teams are going to come from those two divisions.
Yep.
And if you're the Vikings, you could be out of the playoff race by the middle of the season if you lose a game to the Lions and you keep those losses mounting. So to them, this is an absolute must-win game on Sunday to keep their hopes alive in the playoff race in the NFC North.
Well, the good news is we have the precision blocking of DeAndre Swift to help us. He had some really tough snaps last week against the Bears. I don't mean to pile on because I like Swifty a lot, but he's questionable also, limited practice on Friday. And Jamal Williams, limited practice on Friday and questionable.
I think they'll both play. And look, you need Swaggy and Swift in there. You need those two guys running the ball because the best way to keep the Vikings from blitzing and putting pressure on Jared Goff is to have an effective running game. Again, they don't have to get 5-6 yards a chunk, but if they can be effective moving the ball, if they can make the Vikings respect their running game like the Cleveland Browns did last week, I think that is a recipe to keep the Lions in this game on Sunday against the Vikings.
Yep. All right. Who else do we have? We have Brockers, who was full practice on Friday. Looks like he's in. Sewell, they have listed as questionable with limited practice. Hawkinson, limited practice and questionable. And Trey Flowers, limited practice and questionable. What? Trey, I don't play Flowers. Are we going to see him this week? And I don't want to pile on the guy, but I mean, availability is a key ability in the NFL, and his has been extremely low.
I think Trey Flowers is going to play on Sunday. I think he needs to play on Sunday because there are questions about his durability, and he understands his future with the Lions depends on him being able to get out on the field and show something. And look, if you're Trey Flowers, not only is this important for you to show something to the Lions, it's important for you to show stuff to the rest of the NFL because there is a chance in this rebuild that next year Trey Flowers will be playing for another NFL team. So you've got to show them that you still have something in the tank. So to me, I think he's going to play on Sunday, and I think he's going to play a lot the rest of the year for the Lions.
I sure hope so. I mean, and it's, we're leaning on him to be there. He brings a good veteran presence. He brings, some. He's not a huge sack guy, but he is definitely a disruptor, and he can make space for everybody else. Knowing Deshaun Hand is out, that's so terrible. I mean, I don't want to go too deep into this, but when you think about a team that's rebuilding with Hand and Okudah both, you had two key pieces of this, young players that were cornerstone pieces that you didn't have to think about in the future. With an Achilles injury, man, I don't know that either one of them will ever be the same. And the reality is, if you're Brad Holmes, you start thinking we have needed those positions now as well.
And add Romeo Okwara to that list as well, because that's the guy who is the Lions' top sack guy. And that's why Trey Flowers coming back is important. Like you said, Flowers doesn't get a whole lot of sacks, but he can be disruptive, which is what Romeo Okwara was. He was disruptive and got the sacks. You need Trey Flowers in there to help put pressure on Kirk Cousins, who quietly, Chris, statistically, is having a very good year, maybe his best year in the NFL. He just doesn't have many wins to show for it, just one on the season.
And thank you for the correction. I meant Okwara. For some reason, Hand was coming out of my mouth, so I put my hand in my mouth. Whatever. I put Okwara's foot in Hand in my mouth. I don't know.
Nice setup.
Got to figure it out now. Okay. On the Minnesota side, we have Michael Pierce out, defensive tackle. Everybody else was full practice other than Marset. I don't think that's going to be a big deal for them. He is out, but there's one guy that is kind of a big deal who is questionable with limited practice on Friday.
And that guy is their big running back, Dalvin Cook, the guy who has made the Lions' life tough the last couple of years. Ankle injury, didn't participate today in practice. He's questionable to play on Sunday. And look, they do have a good backup. Alexander Madison, their backup running back, is good. He's not Dalvin Cook, though. And here's the other thing, Chris. Dalvin Cook makes plays in the passing game for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings as well.
Right.
So if he doesn't play on Sunday, you lose a weapon running the ball, but you also lose a weapon in your passing game. That means the Lions can put more pressure on Adam Thielen, and they can put more pressure on Justin Jefferson. They're two big wide receivers who make the plays down the field for Kirk Cousins. And you need Dalvin Cook running the ball well, again, effectively, just like with the Lions. You need him running the ball effectively so you can take the pressure off of the passing game.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. Okay, so that's our injuries. In the chat, we've got a good one. Yeah, hand doesn't matter. He hasn't touched a quarterback in 3 iPhones. All right. I like that time measurement. Good job, Wisco.
It's nice how people can keep track of time by the iPhone. Thank you.
Speaking of time, it's beta time for Battlefield. If you're looking, I'll be going hard on the beta this weekend. If you'd like to find someone to play with, namely me, hit me up on Twitter, just at me, and we'll connect on Discord. I'm on PC, so we'll connect on Discord. Love to play. I played a little bit last night, and I absolutely thought the game was awesome. It's going to be a really, really fun game. I think it's going to be a great installment.
I have not heard from my son yet. I texted him just before we started to see if he had the beta for Battlefield. So either A, he's playing, or B, he's got to charge his phone like he didn't do the other day. And I kept like, are you at work? Are you at work? Are you at work? And he's like, oh yeah, my phone wasn't charged. It's like, great. Okay. Thanks. Super.
I'm so glad as a parent, I'm not alone in some of these frustrations. This is just normal development.
Chris, he's 24. You would think he'd know at 24 to charge your phone.
How do you Uber?
That's why I have no hair.
Yes, that is why. All right. Scouting the matchups. We talked about the Vikings defense against the Lions offensive line. Our defensive line, I want to say, our front seven, despite the injuries, is still an improvement this year over last year.
Yes, it is.
And the offensive line for the Minnesota Vikings is good, not great. Do you think they can win the matchups this week against the Minnesota offensive line?
Yeah, I do, because the Cleveland Browns did the exact same thing I think the Lions are going to do. The Browns were able to get pressure. And look, Browns have one of the better defensive lines in the NFL, Chris. But I think the Lions front seven can get pressure on Kirk Cousins, get him moving out of the pocket where he's less effective. And they did that last week with the Bears. There were times where they got Justin Fields out of the pocket, forced him outside, and forced him to make passes outside the pocket. Here's the problem. Justin Fields was effective doing that, and he looked like Ohio State Justin Fields on some of those plays. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to look like Michigan State Kirk Cousins if you get him out of the pocket.
Nope, I agree 100%. Other matchups, what should we be looking for? I think our secondary was probably looking at getting torched. I know Jerry Jacobs is probably going to see some time. I love Jerry, and Jerry is a genuinely. I don't know if you saw the interviews we did with him. He was kind of Hard Knocks. We talked to him before cuts, and then he made the cuts. We celebrated with him after he made the 53. He's a guy. He's had a hard life. His mom died when he's 11. He's seen it all and done it all, and had been knocked down. He's pulled himself up, and he made it to an NFL roster. Right. Didn't expect him to really see him play as almost a starter or a backup, but here we are.
Yeah, and it's a tough assignment because that secondary doesn't have one good receiver to worry about. They have two good receivers to worry about. Adam Thielen is very good, and we saw last year Justin Jefferson just blossomed as a rookie and maybe even better this year. So that is a huge matchup. Can the Lions do something to slow Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson? Because let's be honest, you're not going to stop them completely. You're not going to stop both of them. You may stop one. You're not going to stop both. They've got to be able to at least slow both of those guys down and not let them get behind them and not let them make game-deciding plays. That is the key. Now, does that mean doubling them up everywhere they go? Possibly. Does that mean cover two with bracket coverage? Possibly, probably. Do they play a deep two-man zone? More than likely. But here's the thing, Chris. Somebody's going to get free, and if you play doubling off those two receivers, that also means your running game could become more effective. And if it's not Dalvin Cook running the ball, who is effective, it could be Alexander Mattison. So to me, what they do against Thielen and Jefferson will determine the defensive game plan and the defensive philosophy against the Vikings.
Absolutely. And, so in the chat, we've got Ryan. We should judge the season by small improvements, not wins and losses. That's just me. I'll tell you this, you're absolutely right. And I talked about this on Wednesday's show, and I want to get your thoughts, Tony. I started applying, business guy. I started thinking about economics and the economics of football. And you talk about how teams are built. It's through the draft and free agency, right?
Right.
But the other piece that gets very little discussion is the growth of young talent, the development of talent on the team. The Lions have been thrust into a position that may actually be very, very beneficial in the long run for them. They have a bunch of guys on the field that would never see this many snaps, would never get this kind of live fire exercise, would never get this kind of opportunity to develop against real NFL talent. We're going to see who we really have and who we can really develop. At the same time, we've got coaches who are absolutely the right fit to develop that kind of talent. We think of Matt Patricia, we think of Paul Pasqualoni. Those are not guys that we're going to develop people. They put Adrian Peterson in front of DeAndre Swift so Swift wouldn't get the opportunity to develop because he wouldn't get all those carries, wouldn't get into a groove in the game, all that kind of stuff. As former players, these guys know what development looks like. They know how they've developed over their careers, and they can help these guys to get better. As hard and tough as this year is going to be for Lions fans to watch, this, I think, is actually a comparative advantage in the long run because everybody has the draft, everybody has free agency, but everybody doesn't have the opportunity to develop as many players as we're going to be working on and developing this year. We may wind up with a lot of good, cheap talent out of this.
Absolutely. And here's the flip side of that too, Chris. Not only do you get to see the young players develop, but you can also get to see which young players aren't developing and which players you can cut loose.
Yep.
And that gives you an opportunity to fill some roster holes next year with the players that you're going to let go. And I agree with you 100%. There are young players being pushed into positions right now that at the beginning of the year, you thought there's no chance he's going to play because he's behind somebody else. Now you're getting a good look at who can play and who can't play. And I think that's huge for the development of this team. Now, here's the issue. Will fans be supportive of this if we're talking about 0-9, 0-10, 0-11? Will the fans still understand that, or will the fans get upset about that because the team isn't winning?
I think, and this is going to be, there's a large set of fans that come around during football season. When football season isn't on, if they hear Lions news, they hear Lions stuff, hey, cool. Otherwise, they live their life, right? Nobody, and I'm not saying anybody should live their life and base their life on football. Unfortunately, a lot of mine is, but and I picked the Lions. But they go and do their thing. So they come in, they see the team stinking, and then they just go into the same old Lions and that rant and that anger. And it's on the radio, and they're paying attention to it because it's not baseball season and something else, right? So wherever they go, they're seeing the news about the Lions, and they get angry. And it's I don't say artificially angry. They're probably really frustrated and angry because their team isn't there. But they're not that kind of all-the-time kind of fan. I think the all-the-time fan, the people that have been there through the offseason, the people that have been that watched the game on Sunday to the end, those kind of people, I don't think you're going to shake them after 0-10. The people that you do shake out at 0-10 or 0-11 will be back in September of next year watching again to see how things have changed. I really believe that's going to happen. And the ones that aren't, you'll resupply from the youth. If there's anything that I've come to recognize is there's a constant supply of new people to come in and be fans and parents that abuse their children by turning them into Lions fans. But
hey, I resemble that remark.
Me too. But the reality is, if we kind of look back over since 1958, this team still has fans. It has a lot of fans since 91. It's not lacking fans or passion in the fan base. No, those people will be replaced and they'll be back. So I think it's going to be tough. I think those kind of, season fans will probably go and probably be angry and probably be vocal, but I don't think that the general Gestalt people that really pay attention to the team are going to be shaken on it.
Chris, if there's one fan base in the NFL that deserves a Super Bowl run, if not a Super Bowl win, it's Detroit Lions fans. Yeah. Because Detroit Lions fans have been through so much. And don't give me the Cleveland Browns fans, mistake by the lake and all that. And look, Buffalo Bills fans, I love you guys. I grew up in Buffalo, so I grew up a Bills fan. But the Buffalo Bills went to 4 straight Super Bowls, and they have a team this year that is a Super Bowl contender. Yeah. I don't want to hear from Houston Texans fans. I don't want to hear from New York Giants fans because you had your run. I don't want to hear from Cardinals fans. Lions fans have been through hell and high water to get to this point. So to me, the fans deserve a Super Bowl run. That being said, these are the diehard fans that I'm talking about. The fans that you're talking about, the guys who will complain at 0-10 and 0-11 if the Lions get there, Those are the fans who are the loudest, though. Those are the fans that people seem to find. Those are the fans who get put on television. Those are the fans who get talked about on the ESPN pregame show or the Fox pregame show or the CBS pregame show. Those are the fans that seem to be found. And as a media person, it's our job to make sure we talk to the real fans, not the loudest fans.
Do you remember Johnny Morton showing up on the Jay Leno show back in the day after all the jokes, the national jokes against the Lions? Nothing's changed, folks. Nothing's changed in that regard. So there you go. I got to hit Flounder really quick. He just recorded his Pies for Kids video. Awesome. Okay. I can't wait. Hashtag Pies, number 4 kids. And we'll get that up there. We'll play it on the next show, maybe even Sunday, Flounder. Thanks for the super chat, man. Really excited to see you take that pie. All right. Let's talk about odds. We'll move on to the odds, the game, the betting lines, and so on. Brought to you by Amazon, amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com, amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com. Tony hates people. He said it millions of times. He says it all the time when we're off.
Yes, I really hate people. Thank you.
Go with it, Tony. Go with it. We're reading a commercial.
I hate people.
So he doesn't want to go shopping. He doesn't want to go see him. He also has heard that the supply chain is in a shambles and things are going to be really hard to get at Christmas. So he's going to amazon.detroitlionspodcast.now, stocking up not just on his Halloween costumes, not just on his dehydrated potatoes for Thanksgiving. He's getting his Christmas gifts. He's getting all his New Year's supplies. He's getting everything he needs to make it through the long, hard winter ahead from amazon.detroitlionspodcast.com. Right, Tony?
That's correct.
All right. Let's see. Let's got the odds. We've got Vegas here telling us that the spread. And I would tell you who I got these odds from, but they didn't pay me for the spots we did for them.
Gotcha.
They signed an insertion order and never came up with the money to pay for all the work we did.
Wow.
I won't name them.
Okay.
Because they got better lawyers than I'll ever have. All right. But they didn't pay. The spread, the Vikings are -10 favorites.
You know what, Chris? That spread has grown because when it opened up initially, it was the Vikings at 7.5. So since the injuries have popped up and everything else with the Lions, it's gone from 7.5 to 8.5 to 10. Yes. So that tells you right there the smart money's coming in on Minnesota.
Ooh,
so I would, again, stay away.
Yep. It's still there at -10. Let me check my other numbers here. Yep. Okay. Oh, whoa. Okay. That's bigger. That's changed. Okay. Up to date, most up to date, real live lines here. You know, that's how we do it. Okay. So you go to the money line. The Lions are +350. When I did this just a few hours ago, it was 330.
Okay.
And the Vikings are -475. They are -450 just 2 or 3 hours ago.
See, -450, I'd have taken the Vikings. -475, nah, I can't do that either. No. But more -450, I'd have done it.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I'd have done it.
Pushes you over. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That's just tough. It's not enough churn for the burn.
Exactly.
All right. Over/under. Where do you think the over/under's at, Tio?
You know what? Considering how the Lions make those late charges in these games, I'm going to go with 51.
You're so good. You are the Oracle. I am not kidding.
Thank you.
49.5. That's pretty close. You're only off.
You know what? That one, I'm going over. That's the one I feel most comfortable with this week. I would go over.
Yeah. If you're going to put your money on it, do the over.
Yep.
That's Tio the Greek, by the way. He wears many hats.
Thank you.
It'll be the Fez in just a few minutes. Okay, yeah. Take the over 49.5. That's your odds. And let's get into the Fanatics final outcome prediction. Here we are. T.O., we got the Vikings at Use Bank Stadium. What is your final prediction?
I picked the Lions last week to beat the Bears.
Yeah, me too.
Lesson learned. I just think the Vikings have too many weapons. Even if Dalvin Cook doesn't play and Madison's the running back, they still have Adam Thielen. They still have Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins is statistically having a very, very, very good season. And I just think they are the better team. Defensively, they get Anthony Barr back at linebacker. That'll help them out. They can put pressure on the quarterback. I hate their secondary. The Vikings secondary is a weak link, but I don't know if the Lions have the receivers, Chris, to expose that secondary. 31-21 Vikings, although I think the Lions put up some points late to get to 21.
Okay, there you go. Interesting. I've got a prediction. It's similar but not the same. I see the Vikings scoring more and the Lions scoring less. While they have a weak secondary, that line is going to have Jared Goff running like happy feet galore. Is going to be happy feet parts 1, 2, and 3 all in one movie. I see the Vikings 35 to the Lions 17. I just don't think we're going to be able to move the ball through the air like we think we can. So there you go.
Here's the thing. If they're going to have extra protection in there with the 3 offensive linemen out, if Penei Sewell doesn't play, there's a good chance that Darren Fells and TJ Hawkinson might have to stay in and not go into patterns and help chip blockers and help with the offensive line. So that reduces the number of weapons that Jared Goff could have out there on a play. So that's everything is lining up for the Lions to go into Minnesota and get spanked. And yet, I'll leave the yet there.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about this, and we've seen them bring in an extra lineman as a tight end to help block and give help. I picture them doing that, maybe splitting Hawkinson out to try to get somebody out there to receive the ball who's bigger than 5'8" and has can give them something a quick kind of outlet. It's gonna be interesting to see how they cover for this injured line.
I agree.
It's gonna be.
Don't sleep on Khalif Raymond, by the way. He has played well the last couple of weeks, especially last week against Chicago. He might be the one guy that could at least help open up the running game for the Lions if they're able to get him free against that Viking secondary. He could make some big plays for this team.
I wish he was exactly the same speed, but 4 inches taller. That's all. I like him. I think he has a lot of potential. He's just a little small. So
I agree, but I like you said, I like the potential. I like the way he's played the last couple of weeks for the Lions.
Absolutely. All right. Again, if you're looking for Battlefield, tweet at me at Twitter, DET Lions Podcast. We'll find you this weekend. We'll get together. We're going to play the beta, have a good time. To all hours of the night, I'll have you know, with all manners of alcohol. And
update from my son, he does not have the beta. Sorry.
Oh, well, if he does, I'll give you my name, and we can. We'll happy to play with him because it is an absolute riot. It's free. It's free for the rest of the weekend, so it's definitely worth it. Okay, post-game show with Sandman this week. We'll see you Sunday after the show or after the game.
All right.
Don't forget about Lions Nation Unite, lionsnationunite.com. Great place to go, great community of fans, and also your Detroit Lions podcast merch and retro Detroit tees, all hanging out at DetroitLionsPodcast.com/store. Don't forget about us on Patreon, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast, patreon.com/Detroit Lions Podcast. Get access to the Slack, the most intelligent Lions chat on the internet. One of the guys, Big Bad Fab, big congratulations to Big Bad Fab in the Slack, just had a baby.
Oh, cool. Congratulations, Big Bad Fab.
Yeah, it's a good community in there. Good people. All right.
So that makes him little Fab?
Oh, Flounder. Thank you. Did you hear the kids? $50 from Flounder at stjude.org/DLP. Thank you, brother. Really appreciate it, man. You're
done, Flounder.
He's a good guy. He's very, very generous. Follow us on Twitter at DET Lions Podcast, DET Lions Podcast, and AJ Ortiz 3. I got that right. AJ Ortiz 3.
Yes, you did.
One of the most intelligent follows on Twitter. He's not going to get in an argument with you. You just can't get him to. Give us a call on Skype, Detroit Lions Podcast, all one word, Detroit Lions Podcast, or call us at the Lions line at 929-33-LIONS. It's 929-335-4667. And be sure to go to DetroitLionsPodcast.com, subscribe to the podcast so we can show up in all of your MP3 boxes automatically. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to see you next time with the Detroit Lions Podcast. Thank you, T.O. As always, I love doing this with you, man. You're the absolute best. Remember, no pants, no toasters, no hot tubs, no problems, except for T.O. and I. We're your Detroit Lions and Reddit connection.
Final seconds winding down, and look at that. How big is that? Chris and Case out of time. Pack the bag, start the plane. This show is over.
You've had enough of that shit.